for taking the time to speak to me today.
Oh, you're very welcome.
I understand you've had a bit of a chat with Karen from recruitment regarding the role. So today is to go into that a bit more in depth, give you a bit of a better understanding of what's involved, and then we'll go through some questions and just talk a little bit about you and your past experience. It could be relevant or not relevant. We'll go over kind of various questions. But if there's anything you're not sure of, or you want to revisit later on, we can pass that and come back to it.
Thank you.
So we'll get straight into it then, Eileen. I'll tell you a little bit about the role itself, and then we'll go through the questions. So apologies if I'm telling you things that Karen from recruitment has already told you. But the role that we're looking to fill is for the people services team, or the people practice team. And what we effectively do is we offer a support for all of the sites that we work with. So we as a business have about 150 sites, 6,000 employees, and what we are doing is providing a HR service for all of those employees. So we're kind of acting as a front of house, as it were, for any HR related query. So that can cover different things like standard ER relation queries and documents, things like disciplinaries and grievances, and just pointing an employee in the right direction if they have a query relating to that. Or it can be a bit more related to payroll, pensions, benefits, that kind of thing. And it might be that it's something that we can't deal with as a team, but we'll point the employee in the right direction to the person that can. So we kind of triage different queries. The way we do that is we use a ticket system. So they come in, the query comes into us in an email, which turns into a ticket, and we log into the ticket system throughout the day, and we work through the queries and resolve what we can, speak with other teams within the business to effectively resolve that employee's query. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay, brilliant. So as part of that, Eileen, there's various kind of variations of the role. So we also have to issue documentation for any changes that we make on the system. We also make the change on the system. So say, for example, you were employed with us and you were being promoted. What we do is the behind the scenes system change to make that happen. So we make sure that your role is in line where it should be on the system. You are the right grade effectively, which gets you the right benefits, which changes your pay. And then we issue the documentation as a result. So a new contract for you off the back of your promotion. So we do a lot with those kind of tasks. And then also providing support to the HR business partners who occupy the sites. So it might be that one of our HR business partners, I'll use a real life example. We've got a lady called Beck. She's great. She looks after about 20 sites. So her role is to visit them all week and provide any support that they need. So because she's there, if she needs anything doing on the system, she'll send the request to us because we work as part of the central team. We're at the head office, so we can make that happen for her. So hopefully that gives you a bit of a insight into exactly what you will be doing. And if you've got questions as we go through my questions, please stop me, and we'll also make time at the end just to do a bit of a Q&A so that you feel comfortable with everything.
Yeah.
So let's start off then, Eileen. Could you tell me about a time where in one of your previous roles you have worked as part of a project?
Yes, I worked with the Job Centre for 7 years, and I worked closely with the fraud team.
Okay.
And they had a project going on where they were trying to prevent the fraud. i.e., letting people know, sending out letters to
Mhm.
people that had been on benefits for a long time. And the project was not initially to get them off of benefits, to prevent them from fraud,
Okay.
committing fraud, which is clearly quite common. So that was a project that lasted for about 3 months with the fraud team.
Okay.
Whereas we worked closely together and tried to prevent fraudsters who had previously committed fraud from continuing.
Okay. Well, that sounds interesting.
Rather than chase everybody down to make them aware that, basically we know what you're doing, is that their idea was prevention is better than cure.
Brilliant.
So that lasted for about 3 months, and it was quite successful, to be honest. I mean, not 100% successful, but, it prevented, it lessened the fraud team's workload by
Brilliant.
preventing.
And what was kind of expected of you throughout the project?
Well, I was in charge of the fraud tapes. I would be there in the interviews, which are recorded as a police interview. You're under caution.
Oh, okay.
And it was to learn basically how the fraud is committed. So it's moving forward again to try and prevent it and advise people this is what you can't do. So first-hand experience in the interviews to see how the crimes were committed was one of the project options that I was given to participate in.
Okay. That sounds quite interesting. I hope you don't mind me asking, how did you find that kind of sensitive data and sensitive situations? I can imagine you come across tense scenarios during that project and being involved, in the interviews.
Absolutely, Christina. As I have said, it is an interview that is done under caution. Your interviews are all recorded. You're advised of that in the beginning. Some of the stories are reprehensible. Some of them are just criminals. But some of them, without condoning what they've actually done, is you can understand. So, but whatever they have committed, whatever crime they've done, which is, you have to be completely complacent and just listen, not be opinionated, be as understanding as you can, even though in some cases there has been intense racism.
Okay.
One of my colleagues, verbally abusive, language appalling, but as I said, it is under caution, and they do have a small black line that goes round the whole room, which, unbeknownst to the person that's being interviewed, is actually an alarm.
Ah, okay.
So if you touch the black line at any point, the security guards will come in and remove the person if it becomes too volatile.
I see.
But that seldom happens, Christina. But you just have to be not judgmental and be professional.
That sounds, similar to situations that we find ourselves in as well on our team. Do you see what you've learned within that past role as being transferable to this role potentially with us at the People Services team?
Absolutely. I wasn't actually a civil servant. I was a contractor. So when my contract was up, it lasted 7 years. I then went on to be a receptionist in another company, but the reception role actually came under the HR umbrella.
Ah, brilliant.
So I was, again, in the interviews, disciplinaries, grievances. I would take the notes, type them up. I was also, for references, everything like that. I also came under the HR banner as the receptionist.
Okay.
So I was in a lot of disciplinaries. And again, as I'm sure you're aware, as in the job centre, in the fraud interviews, they can be very tense. You know, people will be obnoxious when they're in trouble and they know they're caught. But the whole thing is just be professional. Don't get angry. And at any time, if it becomes too much, stop the interview.
Yes. Can
that was an extreme case. I've only ever been in one fraud interview where it was actually stopped due to intense racism.
Oh gosh, well, I'm sorry to hear that. It kind of leads me on to my next question, which was, can you talk me through an experience where you've been tested, you know, or where your patience has been tested, and how did you deal with it?
Well, to just refer to what I was talking about, Christina, I was in a fraud interview in the job centre, and the lady that I was working hand in hand with was of Asian descent, and the fraudster used this as a violation of her rights by constantly referring to her in a racist way.
Okay.
What these people don't seem to understand is their attitude throughout these interviews can impede on what happens to them afterwards. This one gentleman, as I say, he was violent, racist. We stopped the interview, and after he left the room, my colleague was visibly shaken and upset.
Yeah.
But the outcome of it was he had a 9-month sentence in prison and an £18,000 fine.
Okay.
While he was in prison, he reached out to my colleague constantly to beg forgiveness, as he had found God in prison.
Right. Okay.
Each letter got more and more desperate to ask for forgiveness. But, you know, it's not a personal thing. It's not something that you would want to be involved in.
Okay. So if we have a look at all of your kind of past roles, Eileen, and the experience that you spoke to Karen about, and how you mentioned you'd been in kind of not this exact position before, but similar roles before, like you're just drawing on your experience there, working with sensitive data at the job centre, and then also you made reference to a HR role which you had before. What exactly was expected of you there from a HR point of view? Was it ad hoc that you were asked to do kind of duties for the HR team, or were you considered a member of the HR team there?
I was considered a member of the HR team, Christina. I was the note taker, for lack of a better way of describing it to you. Each time there was a disciplinary, I was the one that went in. Unfortunately, I don't know shorthand, but you know, you can keep up and cut it down to your own, so you know when you go to type it up, it won't be exact, but you know, you can shorten it while you're writing it. But that was one of my actual roles, was each time there was a disciplinary, and it was a very large firm. There was 325 people there, so it was quite constant that there would be disciplinaries.
And what did you kind of learn within the role, and did you discover anything about yourself?
Yes, I discovered that you can't take it personally, Christina. As I said, when you're under duress and you know you're caught and you're in trouble, your instincts are naturally to defend yourself, even if you're in the wrong. But as I said, you have to be unjudgmental, sit on the fence, just listen, write it down, and you know, don't partake in an argument. Try to dissuade at all points from getting yourself into an actual fight with the people. You must just be professional and, you know, allow them to vent, but don't participate in it.
Okay.
You're there to listen, to advise, but it's not your role to actually argue back. It's you try to calm them down, make sense of the situation, and then just take it from there.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds spot on with me as well. And how did you monitor your HR cases there? Was it up to yourself to handle the case information, the data, and the notes, or was it more that your role was kind of from like an admin point of view, and then the information would be passed on to another member of the team?
No, I was generally in charge of the admin after the interviews for grievances, so on. It was up to me to type up everything that had been said and then keep it on record for every individual.
Okay.
So once I had taken the notes, Christina, it was up to me to type them up and put them on file.
And did you feel comfortable in that kind of arena, Eileen, in terms of being on the computer and using different systems? Is that something that is within your skill set, or would that be something that you'd need?
Yes, it is, Christina.
Yeah. Okay, brilliant. And have you
I'm
used...
very familiar with Windows.
Brilliant, okay. And have you used any HR specific systems before? It really doesn't matter if you haven't. It's just a...
I actually haven't, Christina, sorry.
No, that's fine. There's been a lot of new systems, introduced recently, so it might be that it's just something that...
It has been 10 years since I actually had that job, but...
Okay. No, okay, that's good to know. That's brilliant. And can I ask you, looking back over your career, Eileen, would you say that you've tried to gravitate towards roles that are, or that require, strong organisational skills? Is that kind of reflecting on how you are?
I feel that organisation in any walk of life, Christina, is absolutely imperative. I do like to think that my own personal organisational skills are second to none. If you're not organised, if you don't know what your daily duties are, obviously there will be other duties on a daily basis that you're not expecting, but I feel organisation is key.
Okay.
In every aspect of life, and particularly in employment.
Okay. Can I ask you a bit, Eileen, about how would you say your problem solving skills are? Would you rate yourself quite strong in this area, or?
Yes, I would, Christina, because I feel that I have quite a calming influence on, if it becomes a bit heated and a bit volatile. I don't know if it's an age thing, as I'm 56. I feel, I can calm down a volatile situation quite easily.
Okay.
I don't know about violence, but volatile and, as I say, racism and abusive, I can actually disarm them quite well and, deflate the whole situation.
Okay. And looking back over your past roles, have you got a memory or an experience that stands out as being particularly challenging?
Yes. On the first day of working in the job centre, I was the switchboard operator and then moved on to work with the fraud team and the post side of things.
Okay.
And on my very first day, the very first phone call I got was absolutely dreadful. It was a young couple, if you don't mind me just telling the story, it was a young couple whose baby had actually died in a cot death the previous night, and they had no money for a funeral.
Oh my goodness, okay.
So it was genuinely upsetting. I wasn't aware at that point, what was the way forward. Obviously, I knew I wanted to help this couple. You could hear the grief, Christina, while talking. Actually, you could hear the girl crying, and it was the gentleman that was talking to me. As it transpired, I said to you, I will help you in any way I can. I will call you back. I again, I had no knowledge. This was my first day at the job centre, and as it transpired, they didn't have to have money for the baby's funeral, and I sorted it out for them as much as I possibly could. But it was a baptism of fire.
Goodness. And looking back, did you learn and make changes to your approach in anything off the back of that challenging situation?
Well, yes, I did, Christina, because you genuinely don't know what each phone call is going to entail. You know, it was probably, without sounding or even trying to be diplomatic, it was actually probably the best way that I could learn was, this is going to happen to you. This is going to happen every day from here on in. So be prepared. You know, you think you're just going in to put people through to the right person, the right advisor that they need, but they also need a bit of humanity. So it taught me straight away, right, this isn't normal. This isn't anything that I've ever dealt with before. And, you know, some of the phone calls were very sad, some were very rude. I had a threat to have my house petrol bombed, my car blew up. You're given the option with the job centre to use a pseudonym. I didn't take that. I just, you know, said, Eileen, you have to introduce yourself clearly when you're on the phone. But as I say, you can use a pseudonym, but I didn't take that. So it seemed less personal to you if they're calling you by a name that isn't yours. Well,
I'm sorry to hear that you've been in those situations, Eileen, but I'm sure it has, like you say, potentially being thrown in the deep end meant that...
I think it has been beneficial, Christina.
It meant that you swam, you know, and you learned very quickly. Would you say, is that a particular skill of yours, that you tend to pick up new skills quite quickly?
Yes, I think that you have to adapt to every situation you are in to the best of your ability, and whatever the situation, you must stay calm. If it is, you know, out with your own home, for your employer, your job, what have you, I think it is imperative at all costs to stay calm and collected as much as you possibly can.
Yeah, I completely agree. So I think we're on the same page there. Kind of steering the interview as we wrap up now, Eileen, just back to what you'll be doing, you know, the daily tasks and what we covered a little bit at the start of the interview. Have you had a position, or have you held a position previously where you have worked on a ticket system, or where you've worked through customer queries, even if it is in a different format, or is it that would be quite a new environment and a new way of working?
The system sounds relatively new to me. The grievances that I dealt with, as I say, when I had the receptionist job, that came under the HR banner, not for the job centre. I would literally just work through each email, you know, top to bottom. There was no sort of number, it was just first come, first served. I would deal with each one individually, but just start at the top and keep going until, you know, they were dealt with as much as I could. But no, the ticket system is new to me.
That's absolutely fine, Eileen. Can I ask you, how do you pick yourself up from a bad day? You know, if you're feeling stressed in the office, how do you manage that?
Well, I like to come home, take my dogs out for, you know, a nice mile or two walk. I feel that calms me down. I also like to cook when I get home. I enjoy listening to music. I also am a movie fan. I like to sit down at the end of the day and watch a good movie, and it just completely chills me and prepares me for the following day. Okay.
Well, that kind of leads me on nicely to my next question. What do you like to do in your spare time?
Well, I'm a keen hiker. I'm currently training for a 10k marathon.
Oh, brilliant!
Which takes up quite a bit of time, which is handy when I can run with the dogs. I like to do that. I like to keep fit a lot. I also read a lot. I like to. I'm very interested in history of all forms, so I like to read a lot of history books. And there's no shortage, so it's a new thing all the time. And as I say, I like to watch a movie, just sit down, shut the world out for a couple of hours and immerse myself in it.
Yeah, I can understand that. Just to give you an idea of what a day in the life of our team is like, and to give you a bit of an insight, there's myself and 2 other members of the team, and then we report into Imogen, who's kind of head of people services. So we're quite a small team. Do you see that being a dynamic that suits your way of working?
Absolutely. I enjoy profusely socialising whenever possible on a personal basis with my work colleagues. You know, it's nice to be friendly. If we don't have things in common, we can learn about each other. I feel a smaller team is more beneficial to, how can I put it, a sort of more personalised atmosphere. You know, if you're working maybe with 20 people, it's a bit more difficult, I find, to you know, have a rapport with everyone. But if you're working with a small team, you know, it's beneficial for everybody to be on the same page and try and be as amicable and friendly as possible. So my preference is the smaller team.
Okay, well, you know, that's perfect for us, and I think you're right. You know, it is more of an intimate kind of setting and a bit more of a personal service we can provide, and we really do try and offer that. Even though we look after so many employees, we try and still, you know, offer a good service and make it seem personable. Is customer service something that you have a strong skill set in?
I feel the job centre, Christina, was a lot of customer service. I also worked with the signing team in the job centre, which I'm not sure if you're familiar or not, but every fortnight, if you're unemployed, you come in and you sign for your benefits, and you must show your diary to prove that you have been actively seeking employment. So each small interview is like 10 minutes long, and it's constant. So I'm constantly interfacing with the public every 10 minutes. And again, as I have said, in the job centre, it can be quite a volatile place. So you're changing every 10 minutes who you speak to. Try and be personable. Try and show this person that you care, you know, that they're unemployed and maybe struggling in this very short period of time until you're on to the next one. So I have got no problem whatsoever. You know, constant change and different people. Just try to be as pleasant as possible at all times. But the customer service in the job centre, what I was trained to do is absolutely fabulous. The services that the job centre will offer you are nothing like I would have imagined. So customer service wise, you have to be, you know, up to par. You have to be.
And do you feel that's a kind of lesson or a skill that you've carried forward on into
Absolutely,
life?
Christina, I do find, as I say, that as a baptism of fire. You're dealing with things on a daily basis that you couldn't imagine at all, and it prepares you. So if you have a grievance, or a disciplinary where, you know, such and such has done this or such and such has done that, in my experience, without trivialising that person's grievance, to me, and the experience that I've had with, you know, the job centre and the things that went on there, these are trivial. Not to that individual that you're speaking to, but what you can be involved in. can be quite harrowing. So on a daily basis, if it's a grievance or a small, disturbance or whatever in the employment area, that is okay for me. Because as I say, in the job centre, we had an instance one day where there was 10 plainclothes policemen with cameras on the lapels of their jackets, as there was actually a paedophile signing on that they were trying to catch. So, these things in comparison, I don't want to take away from anybody's grievance or anybody's disciplinary, but that is what I learned from there.
Yeah.
So anything else is, a bonus.
Yeah, I understand, definitely. Thank you for going through all of that for me, Eileen. I thought if we kind of close the interview, with me telling you a little bit about what we're hoping to find from the right candidate, and then if you have any questions, we can go through those. So we do a mixture of hybrid working. So the expectation is that you can come to the office 2 or 3 times a week, and then work at home for the rest of the week. It's a full-time position, so we're looking to find someone happy to work Monday to Friday. But as I said, it's flexible. Some days in the office and some days at home. How does that sound with your current situation?
That sounds fabulous, Christina. I've never had the opportunity to work from home before, so...
Okay, so that'd be quite a new experience.
Yeah, that will be a new experience.
Okay.
And I don't mind working singularly anyway. Sometimes if you're very busy, it's... You can, distractions in the office can sometimes take you away from what you're actually supposed to be doing.
Yeah, I agree.
On my own, I think would be beneficial.
Okay, that's brilliant. And in terms of salary expectations, Eileen, have you had a chat with Karen surrounding that? Does she have your expectations there?
Absolutely. Karen has explained the salary, which I find very satisfactory, which is great.
Okay, that's brilliant. And I'm conscious that I've kind of spoke a lot and asked you a lot of questions, Eileen. Do you have anything you'd like to ask me at all before we close the interview?
I would like to inquire, Christina, does the company have a health plan?
Yes, so that's a great question actually, Eileen. We do have a good benefits package. The role that we are advertising for will be a grade F role within our job matrix. Obviously that doesn't mean a lot to anyone external now, but if you're given the position, then we'll explain the job matrix more. But what that means for yourself is grade F employees are entitled to private medical and dental.
Dental as well, fabulous.
You also have the option to do a bit of a salary sacrifice to add on family members too. So that's an option for you as well if you wanted to pay a little bit more.
Christina, thank you.
Brilliant. Okay. So yeah, we can go through all of the benefits as well. It's part of our process, Eileen, that what we'll do now is we'll go away and have a look at your skill set compared to the job description and potentially invite you in for a second interview. So, we haven't lost any opportunity to go through any of your questions if you think of any later on. But is there anything else at all that might be on your mind?
No, you've been most helpful and descriptive of the job. You've made it sound really, really interesting. So, hopefully I'll be successful through to the next round.
Oh, that's great. Okay, Eileen. Well, thank you again for taking the time to speak to me. I'll catch up with Karen and she'll be in touch regarding possible next steps.
That's fabulous, Christina. Thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you, Eileen. Speak to you soon.
Thank you. Bye.